There, look at that. She's got it. All right, we're on. We're recording. I'm not gonna do a lot of editing on this, Magda. Maybe nothing. So I got a video request about the coronavirus, which makes sense since I'm in Taiwan. I'm assuming the person asking, and if you're watching, you just kind of like to know my perspective, being here in Taiwan, aka Free China, and not, not so, pretty close to China and closely related to China. So the news I'm getting is different. I brought Magda here because she likes to keep up on all that.
I know all the things.
And she wants to be, and she says she knows all the things. Now, I'm not here to talk about the coronavirus in terms of how lethal it is, what's going on in the rest of the world, any health questions or anything. I think I saw. I'll provide some links. I saw a Reddit AMA with scientists or something. Like, if you want that, this video is not that. I'll just start talking about my own personal experience with it here in Taiwan in the last couple of days. Magda, feel free to jump in at any moment. So in the last couple of days, or the last week or so, let's say, there's been some interesting developments. One, maybe it was almost exactly a week ago, I went with my friend. She's a teacher. Oh, here's a few things. All these things happened in the last couple of weeks. Speaking of teaching, it's Chinese New Year's, and teachers have had off work up until this past Friday. It's Saturday now. It would have been the last day off, or maybe Monday is the last day off. But what the Taiwanese government has done because of the coronavirus is extend, I hate that little focus thing it does, is extend the holiday for elementary through college. There's another 2 weeks off. So Magda's off for an additional 2 weeks. I'm not working for another 2 weeks. I mean, I barely work anyway. But so that's happened. And the reason they chose 2 weeks is that, here's some science for the coronavirus, is that it takes, they say, roughly 2 weeks for you to start showing symptoms. But there's a span of time within that 2 weeks that you can spread the virus even though you're not showing symptoms. So that's kind of different with other things. So that's one development.
3 days to 2 weeks.
3 days to 2 weeks. There we go. my fact checker / scientific advisor. So everybody, that's a big deal, right? No kids, no high school kids, colleges are closed for an additional 2 weeks. So we've been off for 3 weeks? Yeah, so we've been off for 3 weeks already. So now it's going to be a 5-week vacation because of the coronavirus. That's one thing.
But we lose 2 weeks of summer.
But you lose 2 weeks of summer. You gotta speak. You gotta project your voice to the camera, Magda.
They can hear me.
All I have is this bootleg. All right, they can hear you. Anyway, so before that was announced, though, actually a few days before that was announced, I went with a friend. She needed to buy masks because teachers were going to need to wear masks in school. And we went to this little shop, and it was all crowded in the front. And I was like, what the fuck are all these people here for? What are you doing?
Masks are useless.
Well, then just say that. What are you over here squeaking?
I'm not squeaking. I'm just mouthing.
Well, speak it up so people can hear. Otherwise,
masks are bullshit. You don't need them. They don't help. Wash your hands.
Okay, so that's what Magda's addition to that. Anyhow, so the masks. People were all scrambling for masks. I was confused, and then my friend bought 2 boxes of masks, and I think she thinks she got away with that because I think people were only supposed to buy a couple at a time. Anyhow, so she buys these masks. She's bought a whole bunch of them, and then the next week, the government puts out that people can only buy 2 masks at a time, maybe twice a week. You might know this better than me.
Once a week.
2 masks once a week, and you have to show your ID card, and you can only buy them from hospitals or something, or pharmacies.
Registered NHI pharmacies. I mean, you can still buy them from other places, but this is a guaranteed place you can go get them. Oh. But doctors have come out multiple times saying, don't wear masks.
Wait, why not? I don't get it. Doesn't that help?
No.
If you're sick from...
If you're sick, yeah, you're supposed to wear a mask. But if you're not sick, you're not supposed to wear one.
Well, what happens if you're not sick? Why don't you wear one? Does it do harm?
Yeah, it's actually when they get wet and warm, it's a breeding ground for bacteria.
I mean, if you throw it out that day, is it?
I don't know. I'm just telling you that.
I feel like there's a net positive if there's a virus going on.
No, it's actually negative because people think I'm wearing a mask, I'm safe, and then they do stupid shit like touch stuff and then touch their eyes and mouth.
But hold on, that's not the mask's fault. That's the person's fault. That's just the person being dumb.
Yes, but people wear masks, and then an immediate symptom of wearing a mask is they feel placebo safe.
That's not a symptom of a mask. That's a symptom of being dumb. Anyhow, so there's a...
By the way, when I say that people are dumb, he's like, no, they're not dumb.
I don't say that. I say that when you say it in specific... No, that's off topic. Anyhow, so now there's a limit on the number of masks you can buy. And school's off, so there's a couple things from my point of view. And then just the other day, maybe I'll post that below. There was, this is just what, yesterday? I think it was yesterday. I was out running when I got it. They broadcasted an alert because there's I guess there's a ship. Maybe you've seen this on the news, maybe you haven't. I'll provide links and whatnot. But there was a cruise ship that's currently in Japan that they're not letting anyone off the ship. And
Diamond Princess Cruise.
And I think 61 passengers, last I heard, have the coronavirus, like, for sure. And that ship was in Taiwan momentarily. And
January 31st, 5 a.m. until... No, 6 a.m. to 5:30 p.m.
So the cruise ship was in Taiwan, and the passengers were in Taipei doing tourist stuff. And the government sent out a broadcast of, like, a Google map with like red dots showing you all the places that the tourists had been, and then it was like, if you've been there
that they know of,
and it was like, if you've been there, like, quarantine yourself for 2 weeks. So that came out the other day. But you know, other than that, like that's my basic view. You know, when you're out and about outside, everything looks pretty normal. That being said, now the movie theater, we went and saw a movie yesterday, and it was like, it wasn't packed, but did you feel like it was less? Okay, so we went and saw a movie yesterday. Like, less people are out doing things. Like, I did go to I did go out to eat with my Tai Chi teacher, Master Wong, earlier this week. And at the restaurant, he said normally we'd go there and we'd have to go in the basement at the time we went, but there was plenty of room upstairs. So people are avoiding going outside. You see people wearing masks.
I'm jazzed to go to Costco.
Magda's excited about going to Costco because it won't be so busy. That's about it. Magda's like sick for some other reason.
Wuhan.
That's
I have bronchitis.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm sick. I'm
you
sick.
You were cold.
Yeah, maybe I have the Wuhan. Maybe in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, I'm gonna make a video titled "What It's Like to Have the Wuhan."
You don't have it. You get fevers and you don't have one.
Is there anything else you'd like to add about the Wuhan coronavirus from the perspective of living in Taiwan?
So apparently, this is something somebody mentioned online. They were going on and on about the rampant racism due to Wuhan virus. And I was like, what are you talking about? Because we live in a country that is predominantly Asian.
Well, it's like all Asian.
I mean, yeah, like you look around and everybody's Asian. And so, of course, there's no racism against Chinese or Asian-looking people because everybody is, right? But I guess back home, Canada, the States, and Europe and all that kind of stuff in the white countries, people are being, like, really crappy about Asian people because they think that they all have the Wuhan virus. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I think I saw one report of someone actually getting beat up.
What?
Yeah.
Fuck. Stop.
And then I suppose we could say a little bit about the kind of controversy with, you know, the virus coming from China. And again, I don't want to get into too many details about why viruses come out of China and all this kind of stuff. Population density, these open markets with you know, meat all over the place, and it's just a breeding ground for because these are viruses that are going from animals to humans, is that right?
Technically, they go from animal to human, but yes. So all of the ones that have been really bad have all come from bats, but bats don't infect humans. The bats infect an intermediary host. So for example, SARS was bats, civet cats, humans, and MERS, which is the Middle East one, was bats, camels, humans. And this one, they think, but they don't know.
So it was the Middle East one? Did it start in the Middle East, then, I imagine?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then this one, they think it's bats, snakes, humans. Although the whole reptile to human thing, their mammal is a bit whatever. But anyway, but the thing is they may never know what caused this one, because when it broke out, the Chinese government went in and sanitized the seafood market, erasing all evidence of what had actually caused it. Now, one could argue that they did that to try and stop the spread of the disease. I would not argue that. I would argue that they were covering stuff up. That's just me.
So that's what I was going to get to about China, is just that because of China's, I don't know if you, what do you call it, a totalitarian state, the one government state, they control the media internally, and they also try to control the media that goes out. So the numbers of people who have been infected and people who have died it's hard to know for sure. Like it's the likeliness that the Chinese government is manipulating the numbers to make it look not as bad. There's a good argument to say that that's happening. But what I have heard is that the government has been good maybe about sharing the details of the virus with the community. And I suppose one more thing about Taiwan that maybe you've seen, maybe you haven't, is that Taiwan is not a member of the WHO, the World Health Organization. That's the organization, I think, that's collecting all the data and everything about this virus, which, kind of makes it harder for Taiwan to do what it needs to do.
Hence the extreme response of shutting down schools.
Here in Taiwan, yeah, so shutting down the schools. And
we don't actually have an outbreak here.
Yeah, the reason that Taiwan has done that is, or the reason Taiwan isn't in the WHO is because of the politics between China and Taiwan. And I suppose something else to say, this is my last thought, and then you can take it away and then we'll shut it off, is that, an interesting thing because of Taiwan and China's history and it being Chinese New Year, is that you had a lot of travel, Taiwanese, back and forth from China to Taiwan, because it was travel season. But there aren't that many confirmed cases here. I don't know what the current total is. Magda might know. Last I heard was 8, but that was like 2 weeks ago or something.
No, the last I heard was 11, but there have been no, thus far, there have been no person-to-person transmissions here outside of...
It's really funny that we're making a Wuhan video and we're both like, the Wuhan,
No, I think there's 11 cases last I checked, and they were all people who had been to Hunan province or family members of people who had come back from Hunan province. So as far as they know, there have been no public infections, although given the emergency alert, they're obviously concerned about it with that one thing. Are you dead?
Yeah.
Okay.
I said you could take it away.
And I want to add, there's 2 problems with the whole China and their caginess thing. One is they're absolutely lying about the numbers. Absolutely. But then as more information comes out and people tattle on them for their lies about the numbers, like for example, someone in Hunan province, a doctor of some sort, has just admitted that the death rate is actually 4.9%. But the problem is you have to keep in mind that in Hunan province, they also have no medicine and they have no tests. Like they can't even test people of whether or not they have the virus because of the lockdowns and everything. Like it's an absolute clusterfuck and nobody really knows what's happening. But a huge part of the death rate has to do with the lack of ability to treat it. And everything from doctor sources that I actually trust says that it's not really that difficult to treat. What they have to do is treat the symptoms. So for example, you get almost guaranteeably get pneumonia. And pneumonia is dangerous to anybody at any age and any health level. But obviously those who have weaker immune systems or whatever, the very elderly or the very young, are more susceptible to this being a problem. But the thing is with pneumonia, if they treat it properly, then you're fine. But the issue, as I understand it currently in Wuhan, is that they don't have the facilities or the materials to be treating people properly. So that's why the death rate has risen. That said, the death rate is probably a lot higher than even rumors say, because there's a lot of people who are dying undiagnosed. There have also been reports of doctors being forced to change their diagnosis so that it's not Wuhan. There's all kinds of stuff going on. And very, very interestingly, I'm sure people have heard about the whistleblower doctor, one of the original 8 who tried to alert the medical community in China, in Wuhan, about the virus. And they were all arrested by the police. This is like public information. And they were arrested for rumor mongering and causing panic. And then a few days or weeks ago, do you know?
You asking me? I don't know.
A few days or weeks ago, there was a public apology given to these 8 doctors, and their criminal whatever was taken back, because obviously there is a crisis and epidemic, and they should have said what they said, and the government was wrong for suppressing them. But the original doctor, the one, I think the first one to get arrested, he just died, and there's like this huge kerfuffle in China.
You know, I just thought, I was like, what if this wasn't recording the whole thing? That'd be hilarious.
Is it really not recording?
No, it's recording.
Oh,
but I was just like, that'd be hilarious if it was.
Anyway, apparently, so he just died, and you know how the Chinese have the Great Chinese Firewall, and they're really good at like suppressing dissidents and all that kind of stuff?
I do know.
Okay. Anyway, they're having a hard time suppressing this because people in China are flipping the fuck out. They're super, super mad. And it was really funny because I have a friend who lives in China, and she posted this article talking about how, oh, isn't it funny how Western media is so focused on how China screwed up and blah, blah, blah. And then what about when H1N1 came out and da-da-da, and it's like posted on LinkedIn, and it's supposedly written by a Chinese nurse in China. And I was like, nah, this is clearly propaganda. And I responded to her with like multiple articles of academics in Taiwan who have actually studied outbreaks in China. And she was like, and I stand corrected. So anyway, yeah, people in China are not pleased with their government, and I think politically it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. Because remember that book you read? The one that said that China was going to rebel?
Are you talking about the world in the next 100 years or whatever?
Yeah. And he said that the people were going to rise up
no,
against...
we're getting way off topic, but
But anyway...
did you want me to say what that was? You brought it up. What Magda, how is this connected to what is it connected?
Yeah, because like right now, people are really pissed at how the Chinese people in China are extremely angry, like en masse, at how the Chinese government has handled this.
So the prediction in this book was that China would at some point in the future have a similar civil war type situation, because on the coast you have kind of the wealthy class, and on the interior you have the more impoverished class, and I think it was a similar fracturing that led to the creation of Free China, son! Taiwan. The ROC. Yeah.
I mean, you and your Free China thing. I mean, sure, but Taiwan has its own identity.
Now we're getting off topic. You gotta stay on Wuhan, babe. Are we done?
Yeah. Wuhan forever.
Like, Wuhan. We got you all in check.
Wuhan!
All right. So there you go. There's your Wuhan video.
I do enjoy coughing and telling people I have Wuhan, though.
Like on a plane headed to Jamaica?
No. No. What? Somebody do that?
You don't know about that? Okay, here. Last piece of news. I'll include the link below. Some Canadian who wanted to be internet famous Now we're yeah, your people.
My people are so dumb sometimes.
They were on a plane to Jamaica, and he was like, stood up, and he was like, I've recently been to China and have the Wuhan, and the fucking plane. These motherfuckers are like trying to go on vacation. The plane turned around halfway to Jamaica, had to land back in Canada.
Oh, the dick!
Yeah, that was a dick move.
Oh, I hope they beat his ass.
Alright, I'm sure this video is long enough and filled with everything you wanted and more. Alrighty, peace.